Welcome to the I Don't Active Health Show with your host Khalil Smith, and we have our guest Dionne Formey. Thank you for coming, and
Thank you.
I can't wait to get into the conversation. Just let me do my introduction. Thank you for joining me today. I want to get right into your background in the education. I know you come from a family of teachers. I want to get into that and what led you to become a mental health counselor.
Absolutely. I come from a family of educators. My mother's family, um, they were raised by my grandparents who were laborers, and they had limited education, but they sent all of their children to college. So all but one of their children ended up at Savannah State University. And my father is the son of the first Black superintendent in Savannah Chatham County Public Schools. And my father and his siblings all went off to college as well, PWIs, but they ended up sending their children to HBCUs. So growing up in a family of educated individuals and educators, I've always wanted to work in education, but I attribute my yearn for wanting to work in the mental health field to being mentored by my aunt, Jenny, who is a psychiatrist.
Did you want to be an educator because that's what your parents and grandparents? Is that why you just saw like their work effort? I mean, see
Um,
them doing it growing up. Is that what made you want to do it? Or
Growing up, I didn't necessarily know what I wanted to be.
okay,
I I was always around education. I was always at the schools with my family when they were teaching. I was always at board meetings. I was always at the college, the local college, Savannah State, doing different things with my family. So I grew up in the environment. So it wasn't that I chose that job. It's more like the job chose me because I was always in that environment.
okay.
And then when I went to college, well, first, let me say I started off at Albany State University, and then I had some health and physical adversity, so I dropped out of college, and I went back 10 years later as a non-traditional student and a mother. Um, when I decided to go back, I went to Savannah State, and it was there that I ran into my mentor, the late Dr. Ja Johannes, and he inspired me. He, along with Dr. Larry Stokes, I admired their job. I'd already knew that education was, in my blood. It was something that I could do, something that I like to do because I like to assist people and help people. But learning under them and learning about African American culture, the way that they weaved it into the curriculum, it was very inspiring for me, and it looked like the best job ever. So it was more like I'm going back to college to complete my degree, but now what I've chosen as a major, I'm not even sure I want to do that. I want to be a professor. So
That's amazing. That's amazing. I know you're a professor now, but what school are you a professor at?
Polk State College, and that's located in Florida.
Oh, that's amazing. I do want to ask you, how can somebody go about finding the right therapist if they wanted to as an African American?
Um, so first, let me say, anyone who is certified in any form of counseling can provide counseling or therapy for any individual. However, you have to make sure that a person is culturally competent, meaning that they understand the needs and they've acquired the skills to be able to treat and administer counseling or therapy to a certain group of people. So, in my opinion, marginalized groups should be counseled by individuals who understand and empathize with what it's like to walk in their life. I say this because I get individuals now that will come to me and they've already been counseled by some people before, and they're unhappy, with whatever the treatment is they received. And then at the end of the session with me, they'll say, oh, well, this was refreshing, or it's like a breath of fresh air because I didn't have to spend the first 20 minutes of my 45-minute session proving to the individual that's counseling me, that I am not aggressive, or explaining everything that I'm saying using the vernacular that we use. Because, as African Americans, we kind of sometimes go in and out using our own language, our own vernacular. And sometimes if people are not culturally competent, they don't understand. So let me be clear. You can be culturally competent and not be an African American. It's just that I truly believe, especially for our African American males, that they receive the best treatment when it's someone who understands their walk of life.
I agree. That's one thing I see a lot of my coworkers struggle with, finding the right person to talk to, and what if that person can relate to them, so they don't have to keep repeating themselves or explaining why they think in that way, that thought process. That's important. I want to talk about your HBCU experience going to Albany State and Savannah. How did you like that?
I loved it. It was the best decision I've ever made in my life. And to be quite honest with you, if I could do it all over and have scholarships in a PWI and not go to an HBCU, I would still choose the HBCU every time. The reason why is because when you go to college, what a lot of people don't understand, and I try to explain this to the individuals that I mentor, teenagers in different programs that I'm affiliated with, you're not just going to learn curriculum, to learn the skills that you need to do a job. That's repetitive. And I think that some people get too focused on, I have to go to this school because they have the best program, and this is according to whomever is reviewing these programs, and I need to do this so that I can be the best in my career field. But what about everything outside of your career field? Going to an HBCU teaches you how to be Black in white spaces, because unfortunately the reality is America is white space. Everything about it, everything that we have to encounter from the time we wake up until we close our eyes, doesn't matter where you live, where you work. Most things are not set up where the playing field is leveled for us. Going to an HBCU teaches you how to maneuver in those spaces and how to maximize and capitalize on what is happening around you. I've learned more about my history, and my parents did a great job of teaching me about African American history, teaching me about who I am. But it wasn't until I got in the realm where everywhere I turned was Black excellence. The president of the college was Black. The professors, most of them were Black, and the ones that were not were allies. The people in the bookstore, like the librarians, were Black. So the suggestions of literature that I should read and outside of the coursework that I was doing in school came from someone who was familiar with Black authors. It was the first time in my life that I got introduced to like James Baldwin, Toni Morrison. I mean, it was an unbelievable experience. And then even outside of that, the networking and the relational situations that I've been in, I made friends with individuals who are in all arenas, all sectors of life. And I don't have to go to a Rolodex or a phone book or Google search to find people. I have them in my phone. Lawyers, judges, doctors, medical doctors, PhDs, teachers, business owners, entrepreneurs. So any question that I need to ask is at the tip of my fingers. And that is because I built rapport with individuals. I learned with them. So we become a family. And, just something else I want to touch on that I really, really love and I appreciate. Once you go to an HBCU, you're a part of a huge network that's a family of all HBCUs. And that's how I landed this particular job that I'm in. So how I was introduced. So I used to be a high school teacher. I taught special education. And I loved that. And it was great. And I was a social worker in high school as well. And there was a teacher there at the school where I worked. He taught math. and he went to Alabama State University. And so he and I had become friends. We bonded over the HBCU thing that we had in common. And so he found this job. He moved on to work here at the college. And so he got hired at the college, and then he reached out to me and he said, hey, there's a position there you may be interested in. I looked over it and I saw that the master's degree that you're currently working towards receiving is what they're asking for. I think you should apply. I would have never even known about the job had he had not reached out to me. But he did that because he cares. Because a part of being a part of the HBCU community is reducing the amount that you think about self and how you can help each other and give back to each other. Because the truth be told is that people that live in white spaces and white communities, they do that all the time. We had to build our own networks to do this for each other. And I'm grateful to him. And I think about that quite often. So I just wanted to share that that's not just my situation. That has happened to numerous people that I know have moved forward in life and gotten introduced to different things and been placed in different rooms that they would have never been in had someone that went to an HBCU never took a chance on them. So, oh, and also I know you stated earlier that I started at Albany State and I got my bachelor's degree from Savannah State University, but I do want to share, I just received my master's degree in rehabilitation counseling from Fort Valley State University, which is also an HBCU.
Oh, wow. HBCU all around. I see you.
Absolutely.
Okay. Actually, I want to add to that. What tips would you give somebody who's thinking about leaving school in an HBCU? They're struggling. I know one time you dropped out. So I want you to give like, what 3 tips would you tell somebody who was thinking about doing that because of the struggles they're having outside of school and they don't know where to go?
Talk to the faculty and staff. They're there for a reason. They're not just hired to do the physical aspects of a job. They are there to be your support system. HBCUs select the individuals that they hire very carefully, regardless of what people think. They may think that, oh, everyone's taking the lower paying job, they're hiring anybody. That I've heard all these things before, but that's not true. They hire people based on the empathy that they may have for the students, how they feel about the students. It is a student-centered approach, much like a customer service approach, where everything is about the student. So talk to the faculty and staff. There will be someone there that may help you. If the reason why you don't want to be in school anymore is because you're stressed out about things that are going on at home, they have counselors there. And if you don't feel comfortable connecting with the counselor, talk to the teachers, the professors, and the staff, and they will connect you with them. They will help you build the bridge to talk to them. If the reason why you don't want to be there is because you're having trouble finding a job, talk to someone there as well. The more you start building relationships with the faculty and staff, you'll find that every need and every barrier that you have can be reduced or eliminated. That's what they're there for. So if it's financial, talk to them. While in college, I had a couple of professors. They would do Sunday dinners at their home. They would invite students there for the holidays that didn't have places to go home for the holidays. So your needs can be met. You just have to self-advocate. And I know it may sound difficult, but start by introducing yourself to one person that you may not know. And if you're having trouble with that, call me. I don't work at your school, but I know people who work at pretty much all of them, and I can help you find somebody. That do. Or I can be your somebody. I can try to figure out what it is that I can help you get through, because I want all students to go to HBCUs to be successful. Essentially, I want all students to be successful, especially African-American students and minorities, but particularly HBCU students, because to be in that environment means that you're already going against the grain, which means that most times when we go against the grain, we're doing what we think will make us successful. And you made a good choice. But if any given time you think that the choice may not be the best for you, reach out to somebody and somebody will help you, especially me.
That was amazing. Thank you. Also, I want to talk about the nonprofit at Savannah State. that we talked about helping the
Absolutely.
students?
So there's a nonprofit organization that's a organization foundation called the Fred and Maddie Jackson Scholarship Foundation, located at Savannah State University. My family has started this project, and it's named after my grandmother and grandfather. Like I told you earlier, my maternal grandmother and grandfather, they sent all 6 out of 7 of their students to Savannah State University. And with that, they all became very successful. And from that success, they decided to create a foundation. So what the foundation does is it does not start off scholarships from the beginning, like incoming freshmen. The scholarship was created to address the retention rate and help students who are already there. So if you're at Savannah State University and you're struggling to pay your bill, $5, $50, $500, whatever it may be, $5,000, the funds that are in that scholarship foundation address your need, so you don't have to drop out. If the only reason you want to drop out or you have to drop out is because you cannot financially afford it, the foundation is there to assist you, as well as many other foundations. But this is the one that I work for, the one that my family owns. And of course, it's located, if any Savannah State students or anybody that knows one that is struggling and is currently enrolled, the Institution of Advancement can assist them, or you can call me, reach out to me, and I can see what I can do to help you.
That's amazing. I know a lot of kids need that, students, especially at Savannah or any college. Hopefully they're all applying that in some way. I want to talk about Black men and mental health and society. Like, how can we welcome them more to seek help without just thinking about society? Because sometimes they don't want to seek help because they care about what someone else thinks.
Yeah, that's a part of African American culture as a whole. Unfortunately, this may not apply to every single African American family, but it's a part of the culture where we don't make mental health a priority. There's a stigma over it that it makes you weak, or that you should seek resource from the church or your nuclear family to help you, and you shouldn't talk about what's going on in your home. But moving forward in today's time, a lot more individuals, males, Black males, are getting into wanting to make sure that they're mentally healthy. So my advice is, I want everyone to know that your wellness is it's about your total wellness, not just your body. So you can be healthy physically, you can eat right, you can be spiritual and have your spirituality right. You can do everything that you think is good for you. But if your mental health is not addressed, then the rest of your body fails. And you may not think that, but it does. So in order to get men to be more active in addressing their mental health, what we first have to do is, as women, don't make them feel weak for wanting to reach out. If a man is expressing his emotions, or he is concerned about his mental health, or expressing that he's stressed or has any type of anxieties or anything, depression, we shouldn't see that as a weakness. It's actually a strength to be able to advocate for yourself and talk about it. So that's the first thing. And then secondly, men who have already tapped into wanting to get assistance with their mental health should be able to speak more about it. I know that may sound difficult, but they should have those tough conversations, if they're able to, with their family and their friends, to inspire other individuals to do the same.
I agree. Yeah. Hopefully it turns that way. I talk to my friends about it too. Like, how are you feeling? And just ask them to be honest, transparent, so I can help without judging. I think that's
Right.
important. People don't want negative judgment. You want to be open.
Right.
Well, I also want to talk about, where can people find you if they do, like, if they're a student and they do want help finding a resource, maybe, and they can't find someone at their school.
Oh, absolutely. You can find me on Instagram, of course, or send me an email. Email is great. And I can, share my email with you. It's Dionnetheicon at gmail.com. And if you want to send me an email, tell me what's going on with you and or where you go to college, or if you're a student, high school student, you're interested in going to college and no one has talked to you about HBCUs or college at all, I can share my advice. And I don't know everything, but what I do know is I know a person that knows almost everything for every need that someone may have if they're going to college. So I can use my network and reach out to individuals and try to connect you with who would be best to help you. And so I just want young people to know, just because your friends or family members or you see on TV that people are going to all these huge big name colleges, you're not just receiving your degree and learning the curriculum when you're in college. You want to learn knowledge of self. You want to learn African American history. You want to learn about budgeting and finance and what it's like to be in a corporate office when you're Black. You want to learn the stories that your instructors have to hand down to you. And you don't get that just by sitting in a stadium-sized classroom of 600 to 1,000 seats when they take the roll by calling your student ID number. You get that by going to a college where the instructors and the faculty and staff know your name, where they remember your birthday. They come to your games. They buy your artwork. They invite you to their home to introduce you to their family. If you're sick, they will take you to the doctor. When you're hungry, they will buy you food. You get these lessons from people who work at HBCUs because they've been there. When you go off to college as a young adult, if you are coming from a family unit, your family is releasing you out into the world to go on and be great, do great things, and learn about the world, and we're proud of you. And then they just hope that you do well. But when you release your students off to an HBCU, you're releasing them from one home to another home. And the people that work at this home will take care of you and nurture you. So it's not hand holding, it's giving you the assistance that you need in order for you to grow up during your formative years. So I could go on all day
I
about
know
that.
you got me want to go sign up for HBCU school. So let me go find the application.
You should.
I got 2 more questions I want to get on to. I know
Okay.
you dropped out. What inspired you to go back to school? I know that's tough to like leave
Um,
and find the motivation or to strive. Well, just to get back on that route.
I always knew I would go back. I just didn't know when. And that's because everyone in my family has went to college. So I kind of didn't want to be the only one, to be honest with you. And I just knew that I could do more than what I was doing with my life. So I always knew I would go back. Didn't intend on taking as much time as I did, but the longer you sit out, the longer you continue to sit out, and the harder it is to go back. So to be transparent with you, I was working a retail job. I liked it. I was doing cosmetics at a department store. And I liked the job, but the job didn't pay much. And of course, in customer service, there's always things that you're not going to like that come up. And one day I just got frustrated and I told myself, I said, well, I'm going to apply and go back to college and go back to Savannah State and see what happens. So I sat on the floor behind the register and I did the application on my phone. And it came up and it blocked me for some reason. It said that I had a hold on my account. So I took a quick break and I called the college, got somebody on the phone, the registrar's office. And the lady says to me, well, I don't know why there's a hold here, but I'm going to delete it off. And you can go ahead and register now. Actually, your registration is going on right now. So she told me that and I just left. I just left. I left work, clocked out, drove to the college, registered right then, because what I didn't want to happen was I go home and think about it too much. Can you do this? Can you not do this? I didn't want to get inside my head. So while it was hot at the moment, I just went ahead and did it. And it was the best decision that I haven't looked back since. So that's how that happened.
That's amazing. I'm glad you did that.
Thank
I'm glad to see you a professor. That's amazing. I'm gonna have to go apply to your school.
You should.
But also, what do you see yourself in 5 years? I know you said you're working on your PhD now and you're trying to take it a little further.
In 5 years, I will have completed my PhD. I will have mentored more individuals, of course, assisted more students. I will have probably teach more classes, because right now I teach college success for first-year students. I want to teach in my field. And so in 5 years, I see myself doing that. That's why the PhD is geared toward counselor education and supervision. So I'd be able to teach more. So being an adjunct professor is wonderful, but I aspire to have a full-time job and gain tenure. So hopefully in 5 years, I'll be a tenure track. And I don't know, maybe you ever written a book or something?
Oh, that's amazing. Well, if you do, that's going to be an amazing book. I will read it.
No, thank you.
I love reading. Well, I just want to say thank you for coming on the I Don't Active Health Show. I really appreciate it. I've been looking forward to this for a minute. I'm glad we got to discuss a couple of things I had on my mind and some things I wanted to help other people. So hopefully my audience gets some value from it and they'll look into HBCU.
Yes,
It sounds amazing.
Thank you. I truly appreciate you having me. Thank you.
All right. You have a great one. Thank you.
You have
so
a wonderful night.